Today, I'm speaking to Hamza, Tahir and Adam Probst, co-creators of ZenML. ZenML is an open source framework built for ML teams that brings ML models from research to production as easily as possible. It's been a while since I caught up with the guys, but today we'll dive into what ZenML is and does, scaling an open source business and the challenges around that, and also the fundamental problems that ZenML is trying to solve. I love these guys. I hope you do too, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the AI Game Changers podcast with Luke Whips.
Right then, guys. So do you want to start with maybe just a kind of quick introduction to each other, or one another, and then, as I say, we can kind of take it from there. So Adam, I don't know if you want to kind of give a bit about your background and who you are and what you do at Zen, and then Hamza, you do the same, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. Luke, thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Adam. I'm one of the co-founders of ZenML, and I'm originally a mechanical engineer, but I'm now taking care of the more opsy things in the company to hold to back up everyone in the team, building the real framework. And yes, that's. We also sometimes also name it by bullshit umbrella, but yeah, that's to give you an idea of what I'm doing every day.
Well, together.
Go to Hamza.
All right. I'm Hamza. I'm one of the co-founders as well, and I am from an engineering background. So I'm a software engineer turned ML engineer, and in the team, I am leading the development of the framework and I guess. Well, the non-bullshit part, but I wouldn't say what that is.
Thank you for so much respect.
Go ahead.
Well, guys, firstly, thank you so much for joining me. I know you guys are super busy now, and Hamza, obviously, it's a pleasure to have you back on the podcast for round two, and Adam, it's a pleasure to have you for the first time as well. So, honestly, guys, like a lot has changed since we last spoke, right? And I think you guys are doing something completely different from the last time we recorded a podcast. So, ZenML, what is it? What are you guys doing? For the people that don't know, which I'd imagine is fairly few now, but yeah, what are you guys working on right now?
All right. So, I mean, the journey has been really interesting for us. Adam and I met in 2017, and we founded a company together, like before ZenML, and that company was focused on a particular use case of machine learning, applying machine learning to optimize the maintenance cycles of a certain industry like trucks and buses and so on. And we used machine learning for that. And in that company, we ran into a lot of MLOps problems. And this is where the idea of ZenML essentially came from. So a lot of the learnings that we take forward into the next company are stemming from our actual experiences and like trying to scratch our own itch. And essentially, that was the first part of the journey, but then obviously it was a completely different use case, a completely different industry, a different business. So we stopped that entity and company, and after COVID, because of many reasons, we stopped it, and we decided that we would now go a completely different direction with ZenML. The first company was more bootstrapped. This one, we decided to go for the venture capital route because we knew we wanted to do it open source and find partners who understood that, which we were able to do then. Luckily in Palo Alto and London, we found some cool investors and raised a seed round and grew the team to 10 people. And it feels like years, but it's only been in like 9 months since that. And yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a beautiful accident then that you guys stumbled on ZenML. But I guess that's probably where the best business ideas come from, right? Like really experiencing the pains and thinking, right, shit, this could be done way better. So for the people that don't know what ZenML does, can you just give an overview of what problems you guys are actually solving and how the framework actually works? I mean, obviously we can only go into that in so much detail, but can you give kind of like a high level overview of the problems that Zen are effectively solving for the ML world?
ZenML is a ML ops framework. So what that means is that it's focused on the productionalization or the operationalization of machine learning. That's what ML ops stands for, as most listeners would know. And what does it mean to be a framework? Well, it means that we are like covering the entire life cycle of machine learning productionalization, but we don't take opinions on particular ways of how to do them. So let's say, the machine learning space starts from feature engineering, like developing a model, deploying a model, and having that cycle of maintenance. And in all of those, we have a very fragmented space of tools. And I think your listeners would know very well that there's like thousands of tools out there that do particular things inside that whole life cycle. But there's no real glue that holds everything together. And there's no real, golden path to production with best practices and standardization that exists. And that's the gap that ZenML is trying to fill. We're building a vendor agnostic standard way of developing a machine learning workflow and making it so that it's agnostic to the tools you use. So if you want to swap out certain components, like an experiment tracking component or a versioning component or a deployment component, then you can write your code locally first, do all that stuff, and then when you're ready, add in these components and sort of have your code and business logic agnostic of the infrastructure and the tools that you're using, which is essentially standardizing the entire process.
Gotcha. So you guys are kind of like the agnostic glue between the tool set that's already out there, right? Because the MLOps landscape is fairly noisy. Like you say, right? There's like thousands of tools and thousands of different products that you can use. But you guys help kind of like stitch all of that together to create, well, as you say, a reproducible pipeline, right? So that's effectively where you guys fit into the market space.
Yes, and what we also can see, Luke, is that many companies who are using machine learning already have a legacy. So they are forced to use XYZ tool already, and which is not compatible to another tool, for example. And with that standardization layer, what we put on top, we help them to really get out of this lock-in of that opinionated way of doing things because they are forced to do them with, I don't know, maybe they have a frame contract with GCP and only can use Google tools. So we help them to mix and match, plug and play and build their house like with the Lego bricks they want to use. So this is really something what finds high resonance in the industry right now.
Gotcha. So how did you guys even start a business like that? Because like we were talking about earlier, to create something from scratch that is a tool is quite to conceptualize that and then start to build that. You guys don't necessarily have a blueprint of how to do that because it's not necessarily been done before, right? So how did you guys start that process and how has it been doing that? Because I'd imagine the challenges along the way are just super, like I could just imagine it like a big ball of string that you're kind of working out, like you're unraveling it as you kind of engineer and build that product, right? So how has that been and where did you guys start?
Very good point. So that was a real challenge. So you can see the whole landscape as there are many horizontal tools like end-to-end platforms like SageMaker or whatever tools span over the whole life cycle of the machine learning pipeline. And there are so vertical solutions which specialize on one particular step in the whole pipeline. And we were kind of a hybrid, bringing the best of both worlds together, and which made it a bit complicated for us because we had to achieve, or we have to get it to a critical mass of tools which we integrate to. Because if we are just connecting random stuff together, nobody would have a support in that. So we said we need to have certain integrations in every part of the pipeline to cover a lot of the market and to cover the highest probability of existing stacks so that we really make sense for them to use. And that was a challenge and a balance, because you can get lost in the detail quite early, right? Yes, it was a challenge, and this is how we tried to get to it, to integrate maybe the biggest players of all pipeline steps.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I can't go like 3 posts on LinkedIn without seeing some sort of new integration or new feature or new thing or new branding or some really cool posts from you guys on LinkedIn. It's actually super inspiring to see, because obviously I've known you guys from the beginning, right? And to see you guys grow as a business, both in size, but then also capability and what you guys actually do. It's super cool to see that, because hardly ever do you see, or do I see anyway, a business that I know so closely from the very, very beginning start to like go through all of the pains and the successes and the failures like throughout that process. So it's really cool to see, guys, and it looks like you guys are having such fun. I must admit, I'm a little bit jealous sometimes when I see you guys on like your boat trips and doing all the cool stuff.
Yeah, come join us.
I'm not very good at engineering, to be honest. So the journey of ZenML then, how has it been over the past 9 or 10 months? Because I mean, you've scaled really quickly, right? And you've obviously achieved a lot in the community in those 9 or 10 months. So how has it been from your side, guys? Has it been stressful, more grey hairs, late nights, or how has it been?
Well, if you have everything under control, you're moving too slow. No, just kidding. It's really fun. We built an amazing team. It's everyone is pushing in every direction. It's just really, really big fun and highly motivating to build a cool thing, what you are convinced of personally, with really cool people surrounded by every day. So I don't know, Hamza, it's like
I think the biggest
I'm
thing,
in heaven.
yeah, it's really, it's sort of a dream job to build, like from a development perspective, right? I can speak. It's a dream job to build an open source product and, like get paid for it. I'm very grateful that we can actually do that, because open source drives a lot of the technologies in the world, and I think we're firm believers in open source, the whole movement, and we were able to, like, through your help, for sure, I'll give you a little plug,
Yeah,
attract
thanks so
people
much.
who are so, because they also resonated with the open source angle that we're going towards, and I think that's why we have so many cool people, because we're all bought into this grandiose vision, and we're doing it in a way that we believe in. We're not cutting corners. We're going out there talking about it. People like it, apparently. So yeah, it's been a immense fun.
Yeah, and do you know what, guys? I think that's the really good thing about startups, generally speaking, like especially in the early stages, right? This is the really, from my perspective anyway, this is the really fun part. And I think people that join businesses in the really early stages of their conception are, um, that's where you really get to understand how businesses go through those pains and the successes, and you get to really taste it, right? But I think when you join companies
Yeah.
that are super established, I mean, people will probably kill me for saying this, but you're kind of there to grease the real wheels, right? And the hard work has been done, and the late nights have already been done, and the coffee's already been drank. But I think people that join in the early stages are, they're kind of like the pioneers of the industry, right? Yeah, I mean, like when we spoke before in terms of like the team and what makes it special and stuff. I mean, the people that you get join you in the beginning, they're the most important thing to the business, right? Because if you kind of get that wrong, that could have a dramatic impact on you guys being successful or not, right? So I mean, it's really cool to hear that you guys have built such an awesome team of people. And I mean, just looking from the outside purely, and the people that we know that have joined, you can feel that, right? That doesn't seem like bullshit. Like you see everyone posting every day, you see people like, sharing information and content. It's like, it does seem like a really cool place to work, guys. So I mean, looking back now on your journey, what have you kind of, what have been the big learnings? Like, do you look back now and think, oh shit, I wish we knew that in the beginning, or oh shit, we should have done something like that? Like, what's the big kind of takeaways from looking back over the last 10 months?
It's a good question. Always this sort of question you can catch us at the wrong or the right time, because when we're doing retrospectives, which we do regularly, then we're way more quick in answering those questions. There have been like hundreds of learnings throughout the journey. I was asked this recently, and I struggled to find like the top five, but I think I did manage to come up with some.
To the top 10.
Yeah, the I think it's very interesting to find, or it was very hard for us to initially understand how people were using the product and what exactly was happening out in the wild as an open source company. And that's something that we sort of figured out through, I mean, the only way you can do that is to go out and talk to people, and which basically means building an orbit of how to funnel people in to actually chat with us. So at the beginning, it was like a lot of user discovery was ad hoc. And now our biggest learning has been, okay, we need to set up a process around that as we build an open source company. I mean, it's not, I mean, we were doing a lot of product development, we were doing a lot of content and let's say inbound. But then when people come in and they join the channels, or they follow on like Twitter, or give us a star, or like our post, then there needs to be a golden path for them to also go into our like calendars, and we talk to them, because that's something that you need to show them. And that is probably the biggest learning, that we could have maybe standardized that earlier, or thought about that in a more deeper way, because getting feedback it should be easy as an open source company, because you're just out there and pushing. But if you don't have a funnel backwards, then it can get hard as well. So that's on the product side. And on the operational side, I think there's many learnings in terms of what to look for in people you hire. What are the key characteristics that you look for an early stage employee? As you said, look, these people who are building the fundamental pieces and carrying the company, and it requires a certain characteristic of work ethic and just pushing. And that's really hard to find, to be honest. Because it's not just that it's cool that it's an open source company and it's small. It's not just it's there needs to be more. They need to be almost foolish in the belief of the vision that they want to achieve. And all I kid you not, everyone in the team right now has that. And I think that's one of the biggest learnings for us, and how to identify that in someone when we talk to them. Because that's something you can only understand when you have a thorough process, when you're talking to people and understanding whether they fit into this culture, and whether they would produce what we hope as a team, or as a core team member.
It's really difficult, right? Because I think a lot of people like the idea of the startup pod, right? I think especially if you're coming from more of a corporate or enterprise organization, I think a lot of people would look at it fairly romantically, I guess. But then when you get in the business and you actually come to that realization that shit, this is actually, as you say, you need kind of like a foolish belief and kind of a work ethic that it's kind of you just need to go on above and beyond. And I think if you're joining a startup, that needs to be a large proportion of your life, because you're not joining for the cash, and you're not joining for the benefits package and the childcare and the pension scheme, right?
Mhm.
You're joining because you believe in the business and you want to make something of it, and you believe that it's got the opportunity to, be big, right? So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people look fairly maybe ignorantly at like early stage startups. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but yeah, that's my feedback on that anyway. I think if you're growing the team and the people that you've hired now look really great, but it's really difficult to find those people that really get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's a big challenge. So the war for talent is definitely on. But what we really enjoy is like everyone is like working with each other so amazing. So that's what I really love, that people bounce ideas and just execute. There are no big loops of asking and having a committee talking about it. But like, yeah, just yesterday it was like, by the way, I just integrated this and that orchestrator. I was like, what? how did you do that? And how quick was that? I didn't even recognize that before. And this is just, it's, everyone is firing on all cylinders. And this is what the highest motivation what I've seen ever. So I really love it. And yeah, you don't overlook everything in the end, but it's it's coming together to and bundle it in an amazing release, for example. And what's your take on that, Hamza? Actually,
Yeah, I think as founders, so as like from the position that Adam and I are, when we started, we were just two, three people, like three people specifically with Barish, and we our role consistently has been like obviously we're incentivized to make this big, right? And we cannot expect that like we're sort of working for the people who join, right? In this sense, we need to enable them, we need to get the best out of them, we need to give them a platform to grow, and we need to take that responsibility seriously. So it's also, we don't want people to like run themselves into the ground and burn out, and or the other thing, which is not doing what we're talking about. With and finding that sweet spot can only, you need to have a culture of that, but you also need to have that intrinsically, and it's very tricky to get that balance right sometime. But the way we are trying to do it to enable uh, the entire team is we are trying to celebrate success, and we're trying to have immense feedback loops as we go along. And we have a very open feedback culture. We have one-on-ones with everyone. We have like tooling around that to see how people feel, and I feel like that makes it a bit easier to then go on a weekend and go on a hackathon and come back with a feature. And because there's always this feeling that they're bought into every decision, and we're moving immensely fast as well. So it's basically our jobs to a large part are to have a platform to enable the immense talent that we have attracted now and who are building this company up really with their hands. And if we succeed, I really believe if we succeed in that job, then there is just only one way this company is going. So it's very motivating to wake up every day and figure that out.
Yeah, that must be a nice feeling, guys, honestly, because you'd be surprised about at how many people I speak to on a daily, weekly basis that really hate what they do. Like what they work on is cool, but they actually fucking hate it. They hate their job, and they don't care about the product that they're working on, and they don't care about the use case that they're working on. But the tech is cool, but intrinsically it doesn't do anything for their soul, right? So it must be such a nice place to be when you get up every day and you truly believe in what you guys are trying to achieve. And it's not necessarily even driven by, I mean, obviously everyone's in work to earn money and stuff, but with you guys especially, I think it's not, that's kind of like a byproduct, right? It's not the main motivator. It must be a really nice position to be in like that, guys.
yeah, definitely yes. We also really enjoy it. So motivated by the bigger picture.
But yes, how did you guys actually create that culture? Was it kind of like an iterative thing over time and you thought, oh shit, we should be doing something like this? Or did things pop up that you were like, oh, we can actually kind of formulate this in a much better way over time? Or did you have a fairly strong vision in the beginning as to what it should and would look like?
Yes. So it was definitely trying it out, but we had a clear idea in the beginning. So for my journey before I started to dive into startups, I was working in a corporate company, and I really did not enjoy the culture and the hierarchy, and I really saw an example of not how to do it. And that was for me the biggest learning, that I start at the exact opposite what I saw. Um, for Hamza, we had the exact same mindset. So we were always putting people in the center and having fun at work. This is super important. And even if it's stressful, as Hamza said, in the end, we're gonna celebrate it. We used to say we have a proper life balance. Right now, the work part is heavily there again. But yes, so this is really something what we started with before the very first hire. So
Yeah.
and
And I believe that the our previous company helped, right? In that, like we had already gone through one company and sort of figured these things out in a smaller scale, right? Like in a smaller company, and going into and setting up a fresh company, we had all the learnings from that. So we knew, for example, how to do a hybrid setting with remote and in person. That became a big topic suddenly for the world, but like we were doing that before already. Right now, our team is half remote, half in person, and everybody says it's still great. We use Discord, and there's like tooling around that we sort of and processes around that we figured out. But we also institutionalized these processes early, so we made things explicit about culture, about how to approach people. Like just as a small example, we have on Discord rooms where people are in voice channels, and if you're in the voice channel, then people can join and talk to you. And we have different channels like Coffee, Corner, or Focus, or whatever to indicate how many people are willing to join and chat. The small things like that. I mean, we had picked that up, and I believe that goes a long way. And having team events or having fun and celebrating success might seem like I think I talk to a lot of founders who maybe don't think about that enough. I like maybe we can do too much of that, so you can have too much of a culture where you're not working. But to be
Mm.
honest, out of the two, you should have a feeling inside the company that this is a ride, and the end goal is not the end all be all, right? The destination is not what will make you happy. The journey will make you happy, and therefore the journey has to feel like it's just an immense roller coaster of fun and laughter and joy. And this is what we try to communicate every day. So hopefully it works. I don't know. We have to ask the team, but from our perspective, it looks like it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, guys, from an outsider's perspective, it looks like that. So I think the one thing that if someone said to me, like, could you describe ZenML? I'd say our community. That would probably be the number one thing that I would kind of describe you guys as, because everything you do and everything that I see, especially on LinkedIn, is just I feel like it's a real community business rather than just. I don't feel like it's people work for ZenML, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really ever get that feeling. I get that it's a bunch of guys working on really complex
yeah,
problems together, and it feels different from what I normally see. Right?
Cool.
nice. That's a great perspective.
Good to
Love to hear
hear.
that.
So I guess what's the vision for you guys then? Like, where are we actually trying to get to? Like, what's the end goal? And what's the kind of big North Star that we're trying to aim for now?
It's it's a lot of things, but at the end, what we want to do, the general goal of ZenML is to make machine learning simple, and especially machine learning in production, and therefore approachable and consumable for a plethora of new entrants into the field. A big part of ZenML is that we are, as we talked about, as we're standardizing this MLOps layer, we are trying to do it in a way that data scientists and people who are coming into data science from not particularly engineering backgrounds, or maybe even if they are from an engineering background, they're not confronted with thousands of tools and a fragmented industry and where everybody's doing their own stuff and it's a bit like the wild, wild west.
Mm.
And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it so that they come in and they know exactly, okay, so these are the tools, these are the things, this is my job, this is what I want to go into. So there's a tremendous educational, I mean, not just from our company, I think all MLOps tooling companies are understanding this, that, we need to educate and we need to get together as an industry, figure out the best practices and spread that across to just make machine learning, the impact of machine learning in the world better. So essentially, I mean, from a vision perspective, I think if we contribute to that in the MLOps space, that would be immense and would be exactly what we are looking for. And there's obviously many ways to do that. As an open source company, I think we should definitely touch upon the aspect that there's a commercial aspect to open source as well, which should be there. And a lot of people ask us, okay, how do you do that? How do you commercialize open source? And the answer is that you start free and then you build like a paid offering on top. And if you have enough people who are using the free version, then you would expect that a sliver of that or a percentage of that would also like to use a managed version of that. So you have to build it from the bottoms up, and the core technology has to add tremendous value, right? That's the biggest thing. And then if you add tremendous value, then capitalizing in terms of revenue should be fairly straightforward. And we have had companies like Hugging Face and even the old school Red Hats or whatever, showcase that many times over. And I firmly believe that there will be many, 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 many other companies that will see the value of open source because it does power most technology in the world anyway. So it just makes sense.
Awesome, guys. Well, look, honestly, I truly wish you both all of the best because I think you're really good human beings, and I love it when good people are trying to do good stuff. So honestly, guys, I truly wish you all the best, and hope you guys nail it. But I'm sure you will. But you guys are hiring right now as well, right? So if people are interested to kind of reach out to you and build relationships with you, what should if I'm a data engineer, ML engineer, software engineer listening to this right now, what should I do to help get involved, contribute? What can I do as an individual to work with you guys?
Just join our Slack, check out our GitHub, like everyone who's into open source knows, or just pip install ZenML and start with it right away with ZenML Go. So we have some commands there, what brings you up to speed quite quickly. But I think talking to the team is the easiest way. So just join our Slack.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think you've got a jobs page on your website as well, right, guys? So I think if anyone's interested to join them, check out that, and definitely check out the information that Adam just told you as well, man. But honestly, guys, absolute pleasure to speak to you again. Thank you again so much for your time, and I wish you all the best, guys.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you for the invite. See you. Bye.